I'm here today with Eric Goldstein. He runs a site called createwitheric.com, which is a wonderful resource for tips and advice on network marketing and personal branding. Eric is partnered with Jason Fisher on their site timeandfreedom.com. Eric, thanks so much for taking time to join me today. Could you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about how you first arrived in the direct selling industry?
Yeah. Well, first, Ian, I want to thank you for having me on the call today. I appreciate it. And how I arrived in the industry was a couple of years ago. I was introduced to a home-based business through a buddy of mine, and I just went to the internet. Said, you know what, let me see if I could find a way to do this online. Because there's only a certain amount of people I know in the area, so let me see if I could do it online. Came across some top industry leaders, started to research a lot of what they were doing, got into a few training programs and courses. And I saw, that social media at that time was really starting to take off, and everybody was talking about that it was a new way to build your network marketing business. So immediately immersed myself and dived right in and went head first and just started putting together my blog and my social media platforms and everything like that. And really just started to create a personal brand for myself, which I think is important online for people to do. And then from there, as I started to just work with social media, with my Facebook and my blog and everything like that, I wanted to build a brand that was really geared towards helping network marketers. And that's sort of where I came around with timeandfreedom.com with my business partner, Jason Fisher. So that, pretty much brings me up to where we are today.
Okay. If I could name one thing you seem to be passionate about, it would be distributor retention, which I think is what led you and Jason to arrive at the 80-20 theory.
Yes.
Can you talk about what this is or how it could be affecting direct selling companies and direct selling distributors?
Yeah, and it's a powerful point, Ian, and it's something that was brought to my attention not too long ago, and I was sort of a little burnt on the industry because I was using social media to drive traffic and bring in new business partners, but what I found is people just weren't sticking around. And so somebody said, you got to meet somebody, introduced me to Jason. Jason's been in the industry 17 years. He was in a company for 11 and a half years before it basically fell apart. And we, wanted to figure out why it fell apart, why more people were leaving than were coming in. And it really boils down to the 80-20 rule. You got the 80%ers, which make up the mass of any organization, and the 80-20 rule is, 80% of the people never really do much. So you get the 20%ers that do 80% of the work and making 80% of the money, and the 80%ers are the non-action takers. They're not big go-getters. They don't have sales experience. And the problem that I see with the industry is that network marketing companies, great products, excellent products, some of the most phenomenal products on the planet. But the problem is we're asking 80%ers to introduce a new product in people's budget, and if they have to create a sale there, they have to create a new need in the marketplace. They don't have sales experience and not that type of person. Their whole DNA is different than a 20%er, and they're going to make up the massive organization, and when they don't duplicate it and they don't make any money, they quit. And this usually happens 30, 60, 90 days in, and most of them never do anything. So when they don't do anything and they quit, they stop buying the product or the service because the product or the service really never made sense for them because it was a luxury item that was high priced. So that's, a little bit of the information that we're sharing over at timeandfreedom.com, and it's really just our mission and our passion to get this information out because we see so many network marketers struggling and not knowing why. And I really think we found the answer and the solution there.
Okay, so I know that you've dedicated a lot of that site to the 80-20 theory and how to approach it. How could you advise other direct selling companies or distributors to maybe in just one or two quick tips about using those theories as far as distributor retention goes within their company?
Yeah, what I would recommend, Ian, for people who are watching this this interview today, or whenever they get around to watching this interview, is on our main featured content post at timeandfreedom.com, and you just click on the featured post, why 95% of network marketers are failing. There are 2 videos there. I recommend people watch those videos, but there's also a download there of something we call the 12 success factors. And I would download that and watch the second video that discusses in depth each of those 12 success factors, and have that piece of paper printed out in front of them. And when my business partner Jason is going over those 12 success factors, look at the company they're in and line that company up to the 12 success factors. Because if a company is missing one of those factors, we truly believe that if a company is missing one of those factors, it cannot create the lifelong residual income. And that's really the main reason why people got into the industry. So, I would just tell a lot of network marketers out there, take the emotion out of the game and just, print out those 12 success factors, watch that video and really line their company up to it. And if it hits all 12, great, keep investing your time, energy, and credibility behind it. But I'd have to say if it doesn't, you got to ask yourself, are you willing to invest your time, energy, and credibility behind something that might not be able to create that lifelong residual for you?
What's a major mistake you see either direct selling companies or distributors make when it comes to retention?
When it comes to retention, I think the 80-20 is the biggest factor when it comes to retention. But I also think, like I see a lot of what's going on online today, and I was caught up with it is everybody's positioning themselves as social media gurus or internet marketing gurus, and we got this whole wave of people that are social media gurus. And I think that's probably one of the biggest mistakes, because we also got to factor in the 80-20 there. And social media with autoresponders and hosting and blogging and all that stuff, it's not an 80%er's game. And when you try telling the 80%ers that that's what they need to do to be successful in their business, you're going to see them drop even quicker like flies, And so, I was guilty of it. I was telling everybody, join my team and I'll teach you social media and internet marketing. I thought that was the game. I thought that's what I needed to do. And then I would duplicate that and have them teach their people the same thing. And I found it's just not an 80%er's game. The 80%ers get very frustrated quickly and they fall out and they don't duplicate it. And when they don't duplicate it and they're not making any money, they quit, So I would say, some people, I think social media is great. It's a great way to meet people, but let's get back to some of the basics. Meet people on Facebook, meet people on Twitter, meet people that are coming to your blog, but get on the phone with them. Have a conversation with them. There is no plug and play. People are going to jump into your autoresponder, and next thing you know, you're going to see a full downline overnight. It's about getting back to the basics and teaching your downline the basics, and that's what we're doing. We have a lot of people that are creating outrageous success with what we're doing, and they don't have a blog, they don't even have any of that stuff, because it's just getting back to the basics of networking.
So that makes a nice segue with talking about your 80%ers, and then them wanting to use social media. Is there any advice you would give on people who want to have a Facebook, they want to be on Twitter, they want to grow their business online? What's a piece of advice you would give those kind of folks?
Yeah, and I think it's great because there's a whole world of network marketers out there, and there's a whole world of people out there that you can connect with. But keep it simple. There's no. I watched the video that you created, the interview that you had with Randy Gage, and one of the things that I really caught from that interview was personal branding is great, but it's not duplicatable. So don't expect your people to have to create a blog and all that stuff. It's great if you want to do it; it gives you the credibility. But people can keep it very basic. Create a nice Facebook page that makes you look presentable and have credibility, and Twitter, and just connect with people and get on the phone with people. There's a lot of people that are saying we're online and we're just building relationships, but they're building relationships with people for 6 months, a year, and when you ask them if they've ever spoken to those people on the phone, they never have. So what I like to do is go to facebook.com/phone book and just look at all the phone numbers of the people that I'm connected with. And I just start going through the list and getting on the phone, and I say, hey, how you doing, Ian? This is Eric Goldstein. We're friends on Facebook, and just start the conversation and see what they're up to,
Looking at other tools online, like having a good personal website, you've obviously found success with createwitheric.com. timeandfreedom.com is obviously a valuable tool. How can that also be applied to distributors or direct selling companies?
Yeah, I think personal branding is great. Again, it's not something that's needed, and I wouldn't say people need to duplicate that. But one of the things, when you get on the phone with somebody or you set up a call through maybe Facebook messaging, a lot of times they're going to go check out your profile and see if you have any websites, and they're probably going to click on your site. So having something set up is good to give you that credibility. And I like to use WordPress for that, and been successful setting up a WordPress blog for my Create with Eric and Time and Freedom. But keep it simple. Get graphically, I think aesthetically it's got to be It's got to look very pleasing to the eye, but really, keeping it simple, I think, is the most important thing there. But have something, in place, because I think a lot of people are going to click to see your websites, and have something where when they land on a page, they say, you know what, this is somebody I really do want to talk to, because it's almost our storefront. It's our online storefront, I would say.